So this is like a reverse photo bash. He started with a sketch and then put the photo stock over the top. Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name is Dean. I'm a pro book cover artist from the UK and you're tuned into photomanipulation.com. On this channel we will take you beyond the Photoshop basics and into the world of advanced digital art. So today I'm reacting to Imad Awan, a great Photoshop channel. I came across this one when we started our channel last year, so I've known about him roughly for a year. And the reason why I'm super hyped to be looking at Imad's work today is because he does a lot of digital overpainting alongside his photo bashing techniques. I looked at his main portfolio site and Imad is a commercial artist as well. He does a lot of stuff for board games and concept arts, and most notably Lord of the Rings, I believe a living card game. So I love the fact that he's active in the industry as well. So let's crack on. That's an interesting technique for masking out the grass using a textured brush as opposed to a large soft edge brush. So you can see that his compositing workflow very rough and ready. So there you can see the guard towers being transformed. They are smart objects, so if at any time Imad wants to revert back to a smaller size, it's not going to degrade or hammer the pixels. That's quite nifty how he changed the position of that leg there. Cool. We've got another figure here. So this is quite an in-depth composite with a lot of figures. I think I'm missing some dialogue boxes because I can see some adjustments being made, but I can't actually see where the settings are being input, so that might be a screen recording issue. We've got brush work being done over the guard towers. I can see Imad's using opacity 26%. He has pressure control on and diameter control on. You can see on the brush options up there, and then he's cycling through and changing those options, so that just got bumped up to 56%. It'd be really cool to see the brush settings as well, because I can see that there's a kind of grunge brush being used for adding on the dirt and grime of the scene. So where this was a studio shot image, it looks quite clean, but Imad's getting in there, and a lot of his process is very, very manual. So you can see with his graphics tablet, he has a textured kind of grunge brush, and all of that shadow work was just being laid down manually, and look, a lot of that was happening on one layer, so that's pretty wild. This, I believe, is atmospheric haze. We've still got opacity at 56%. The color swatch is kind of a neutral gray, so I'm assuming that could be some kind of smoke brush or something along those lines. And it's already creating a sense of depth, realism and atmosphere in that scene. And I'm really loving that epic mountain slope in the background. That mountainscape gives a sense of scale and drama. Imad's wild, man. He keeps using that freehand lasso just to dice up that. You can see the shape of the brush there up the top left. It's a very, very strange, obscure shape. You can see it's like maybe a charcoal or a chalk brush. When he's laying down those elements and shapes, it's very, very rough and ready, but I'm sure as he adds on more details, it'll all come together. And you have to keep in mind that these background elements may be obscured by more smoke and haze. Okay, so there's a really nice kind of foggy smoke asset. I'm just going to take this moment to give you guys a shout out. We have loads of those smoke, fog, fire and debris overlays at Neostock, so if you're interested in creating composites like this using instant smoke and fog assets, be sure to check that out. Link is in the description below. Wow, that's a raging inferno. So we've got some fire elements again. That is those fire elements are smart objects. And then so I'm looking at the color swatch at the top right, but I can't see the brush dialog boxes or the adjustment layers, so I'm just gonna have to guess on this one for you guys. And I'm not seeing any clipping masks, so he's throwing those strokes right down over the top. And we have the ambient light from the fire being added to the scene over the top. Something's just been changed to that. So that was changed to color dodge. So as opposed to just being normal, which can kind of mute the overall scene, Imad changed that to color dodge, so it interacts with the pixel data on the layers below in a much more pleasing manner, as he imagined. Okay, so the spears, throwing those down manual. Another one of those kind of chalky brushes. I wonder if Imad has a go-to set of brushes. I'm sure he did a video at some point talking about brushes, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. This process that he has gives a real kind of fine art, natural media look to the final composite. Now, the problem with my work, and the reason why I'm doing this series, is because I want to take my work to the next level. I started as a photorealism, hyper-realist artist, and all of my stuff is very photographic and sharp. So watching the workflow of someone like Imad, I'm going to learn how to take this graphics tablet brushwork and create a more stylized and fantasy aesthetic to the stuff that I do, because I definitely want to lean into this. This chalky kind of scratchy overpaint may not be 100% my vibe, but I definitely want to use these techniques and go for the more oil paint look that I've seen here and there. You don't really see much of the kind of oil overpaint look on the YouTube channels. I'd be interested to see more guys do that. If you guys know of any Photoshop artists that do a really nice oil paint aesthetic, be sure to throw those in the comments below, because I'd love to check those out, and if I really like them, react to them. Okay, so the layer above these figures is set to normal. We have 100% opacity on the brush. The majority of Imad's workflow is literally brushes, and look at that textured brush there. That really makes it look stylized. Like the entire thing was painted as opposed to being photobashed. Interesting, I never would have thought of using a brush like that. He even hand paints the sparks. You guys know you'd all just grab a photo of sparks and set it to screen. See? He wants the sparks to be exactly where they should be. Okay, so we've got some soft light action going on here. If you look at the layer stack to the right, a lot of those strokes were changed to soft light, which is a subtle layer blend mode for adding kind of coloured hues and glows. I really need to go and watch that video he done about brushes, because I would love to know how to do this. Yeah, absolute winner. Look at that. The textures, everything really unifies and brings a piece together. So we've got a little change of pace for this one. I wanted to dip into a cyberpunk scene to see if his techniques vary or change across different genres. He starts off with a high resolution stock image from Envato Elements, and for this one he's using a kind of auto select tool. I never ever use any auto select tools of any kind, so I'm always interested to see how people use them. I am a heathen. I will literally just pencil the hell out of that. But the thing is, Imad uses very natural media, rough and ready overpaint techniques, so those edges don't have to be 100% precise. If I was at university teaching, I used to be a university lecturer, I would have had a go at the guys if they would have composited an image like that. But the thing with this is his style is very kind of hands-on and scratchy, so he can get away with a composite that's less than perfect, because those edges are going to be obscured anyway. So Imad, if you was in my class, I'll let you off. You'll notice how he's put the motorbike figure just to the right a bit and not dead center in the middle, and that's a good rule of composition. Sometimes with posters with a figure or something like that, you can have that element bang in the center, but for wider scenes like this, your main focal point, which in this case is the guy on the motorbike, you want that just off center to add some visual variation. The eye will naturally start at the top left, scan across to the right, and then return to the left. So this piece, if you look at the architecture surrounding the biker, it leads the eye around. So you start at the top left, you go down, you see the biker, you scan to the left, and then you see the rest of the scene. And then you have the additional kind of city and background elements in the back. He really does love the freehand lasso. Another one of those chalky looking brushes. Oh, that's cool. Oh wow, I love the way that was done. Those ominous dark figures, literally illustrated and sketched. Okay, so for the haze, it's a very low opacity. It's 9% on a layer set to normal. If you look at the color swatch there, you can see the colors cycling through. For some reason on these time lapses, I can't see the adjustment layer dialog boxes or the brushes, but it's cool. I'm still learning a lot from this workflow. Okay, what we got going on here? A new bike element, a kind of cyber bike, and I'm assuming he's gonna photo bash the much better bike elements and incorporate them onto that. Okay, that's cool. You know what, it would have taken me so long to pencil this. Maybe this is a style I need to get into so I can produce work much faster. Very rough and ready. It's amazing. Everything doesn't always have to be so precise. That's a lesson I've learned today. So from what I gather, he uses the photo bashing to kind of create the rough shapes and elements, and then a very large portion of the work, about 40% of the work, is the overpainting to tie in the final elements, which is really interesting. I know I say it every time, but I'm gonna have to do an artwork mimicking these techniques in homage to this style, because I really like the speed of this. That looks to be a standard brush. If you look at the brush at the top left, you can see that was a standard. It looked like a hard edge brush and not a soft edge brush for laying down those details. More haze work going there. If you look at the color swatch to the top right, it's like a light pastel blue. Using the chalky brush, some foreground elements to increase the sense of depth and realism. Those little lights that you see being laid down, sometimes they're called speculars, and they're light reflections on wet or shiny objects. And the light from outside is a brighter environment out there, is catching on the hard edge of that entranceway. Because that's a problem with photo manipulation. A lot of time it is too clinical and too sharp. And this is like a hybrid style. This is a hybrid style between photo manipulation, or photo bashing as it's called here, and then digital painting. I wonder if he does any lessons, any courses. I'd buy his course. Yo, if you know if Imad's got any courses, holler in the comments below, because I want to check it out. Yeah, that's nifty. How's he going to do the glows for these? Is he going to duplicate them and blur them? Or is he going to go manual? Way too fast. I'm going to guess. I'm going to say he might have duplicated those and blurred them. Here's the light catching on the edges. Adds a greater sense of depth and realism. Depth and realism is all about lighting, as you can see right here, right now. So back in the beginning, when he incorporated those shadowy figures, they were literally blotches, and as he's added on more lighting and detail, it really comes together. And I see he's gonna... So this is like a reverse photo bash. He started with a sketch and then put the photo stock over the top. So that's interesting, as opposed to vice versa. And then you get the realism of the human face. In the book cover world where I come from, a lot of people are using DAS, and when they keep the kind of CG DAS faces, they just don't work as well as photo stocks. Photo stock faces will always be the best until the kind of meta-human technology gets better. For the here and now, photo stock faces always the best, but it still looks stylized. You see with the overpaint how stylized it looks. He gave that guy a mullet. So we got some overspill there. That's a Clinton Lofthouse special, that is. What do you guys call it? Do you call it catch light or do you call it rim light? Shout out in the comments below what term you prefer to use. I don't know. A lot of the time I use catch light, but rim light seems to be a good term to use as well. If you're getting value from this video, guys, you know what? It'd be really good if you could throw us a like or subscribe. We're still a new channel. We're finding our feet. So that will really help us out. It's free, easy, really supports the channel. That's another absolute winner there. Really like that. Top-notch work. So we've got the third and final video here, and this is the kind of fancy pirate ship. We've actually got a pirate video coming out tomorrow, so thought it'd be fun to do this one as well. Definitely, let's do this one, Imad. Right, smart objects again. He loves that workflow, and a big epic looking island, some nice celestial clouds, foreground ocean. Yeah, we can see that chalky brush a bit better there. Once this is finished and uploaded, I'm going to be backtracking through his videos to see what brushes he likes to use, because I think it'd be really, obviously getting these brushes isn't going to make me be able to do work like this immediately, but I think with some practice I could definitely get there. I love this manual style of working. We've got an opacity of 24%. We've got a murky blue to create the haze. Got some duplication action going on with the clouds there. To transform like that anytime, guys, Command and T on the layer, Control and T if you're on a Windows. His current opacity for the brush is 24%. I wonder why he has the kind of color swatch and gradient really large there and the layers palette really small. He could be strange like Abby Esparza. Abby has her layer stack on the left, which is absolute sorcery, so people are weird, but you know, the results speak for themselves. So he started with the kind of overall shape, and I've seen this a couple of times before in other photo bashing videos that have been sent to me. You kind of create the shape, and then with the clipping mask bring in the photographic element so you can get the exact shape with the exact texture that you want. I've never ever really worked like that, so I'd like to do some experiments and try that out for myself. If this is an older video, I wonder how much is... Oh, look, we can see all the dialogue boxes. Ah, okay, so he's using a layer mask to selectively add in the photo stock texture. That's cool. I think he might be working on two systems here, guys, look. Because the things I'm always looking out for in these React videos is brush settings, what's turned on, what's turned off, the brushes themselves, and I'm always keen to see what's going on with the adjustment layers. And if you compare Imad's workflow to the phaserunner React video I did, you can see how these artists, their styles vary and the tools that they use, very different approaches. One of the best things I like about Photoshop is that there is literally 100,000 ways to skin the proverbial cat. If you compared the workflow of these guys to the workflow of me, you've probably seen a couple of my videos. We use the tools in such different ways. And even on our own PM team, we're all so wildly different. I think the person closest to my workflow would probably be Clinton Lofthouse, who has a similar approach to me. That's already really coming to life. Those kind of highlighted grassy elements really make those rocks look tactile and realistic. Everything's lighting, it's all lighting. Clouds are lovely. I can see a little bit of a discrepancy there. You can see where the cloud was duplicated, there's a line there, but I'm absolutely certain you'll have that figured out, cleaned up on the final stretch of this image. So for this particular piece, I'm glad I picked this one because he's doing a lot more work on the background. Manual clouds, Red Awan's good at that. And I love the way that he's just chopping and grabbing those elements. And then using the clipping mask, if you look at the layer stack on the right, he's added a clipping mask. So that texture will be restricted to the pixel data that he painted below. So we've got the pirate ship there, and he's created like a mask. That's a really interesting way to do the lighting. Just have a kind of solid color fill over the top and then remove that solid color fill. That's like dodge and burn, but with a manual overpaint to pick out those edges and details. Again, like with the Cyberpunk piece, the kind of edge light, highlight, rim lights, whatever you want to call them, starts making this element is no longer a static object, but it comes to life because it's reacting with the lighting of the overall scene. Those large mountains are casting shadows, and the ship is coming out of the darkness and towards the celestial clouds. He's decided to go with something slightly different. There you go, that's cleaned up that edge. Told you. The funny thing is, and if you guys have ever heard of a thing called Pareto principle, it says that 80% of the results will come from 20% of the effort. And the same is true with a Photoshop workflow. So even though there's millions of tools available, most artists will only ever use 20% of the tools available to do 80% of the work they do. So in Imad's case, he uses that brush and these same set of kind of go-to tools over and over again, because that's the workflow that he's found that works for him. For me, I'm using pen tool 80% of the time because that's what I like. I like hyper complex kind of collage style artwork. You don't need to know everything in Photoshop. There's a difference. You have artists and you have technicians. There are some fantastic technicians out there, many of them with YouTube channels. There are some fantastic artists out there. If you look at Imad, if you look at phaserunner, everybody has their own go-to tools. They'll use their go-to tools 80% of the time. I love that that atmospheric haze work that he does. Again, that murky blue, and now a very dark, rich blue. Ooh, levels, my friends. Do you think that that a lot of this haze and fog is from kind of cannons or a battle or something? You know, in naval war scenes where all of the ships were firing the cannons at each other, and there's like a fog in the air from all of that warfare. That's the vibe that I'm getting from that multiplier that you put in the top left. Kind of gives that vibe. I don't know if that was the intention, but that's the feeling that I get. You can see at the top of the mast there's a smoggy smoke dust up there. All these little details, you can get lost in an image like this. Imad, thanks so much for the inspiring work, my man. That's a wrap for this one, team. If you haven't already checked out Imad, be sure to look at his channel. Link is in the description below. And if you like my react videos, be sure to check out the phaserunner one, which is coming up right now. Go and check that one out. I think you'll have a lot of fun if you enjoyed this one too. So that'll do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Catch you at the next video. See you then.